635 was really not even finished at the time we met. And but people came from all different parts of the city and from different congregations, and it was such a good time in our lives.
Our children were getting to the teenage years, and that was a congregation that really didn't have many young people. And so we were thinking, we really need to be in a congregation where our kids could have friends and youth group and all of this, and it just wasn't going to happen there. And so there were two other families that had that same situation there, and that was Jimmy and Lashong Shu and David Vanderpool. And so one Sunday, we had them come home with us for lunch, and the guys just sort of spent that afternoon talking about what we could do about that. And one of them was aware that Skillman owned land at the corner of Prestoncrest and Preston Road. And so they decided that they would try to set up a meeting with the Skillman elders. And the very next week they did. Well, when they went to have that meeting with the Skillman elders, they learned that on that same Sunday afternoon when they were talking and praying about what to do with that land or what about that land, the Skillman elders were meeting and praying about that same thing, about what to do with the land that they owned at the corner of Preston Road and Prestoncrest. So I thought, to us at that time, that was just such a confirmation that God was going to use this for his purpose.
I was 1 year old, and we actually had the first meeting regarding the possibility of forming a new church west or north of Dallas, out of Skillman Avenue Church of Christ. We actually had the first meeting in my mom and dad's duplex on Northwest Highway in 1971, I believe. I remember it clearly. I was one.
When the group started getting together, our first worship service as a group was at a little frame building in the little community of Vickery, which is now swallowed up by Dallas, and it was just east of the intersection of Park Lane and Greenville Avenue. And we worshiped there one Sunday evening. Very small church and very small congregation, just the 30 or 35 families, and it was a very memorable event.
Well, I think the Lord blessed us with a wonderful location. Number one, I think the foresight of the Skillman elders to, buy this particular location, I think is ideal. Couldn't have been better. And that and George and the excitement of the people. And so I think that's some of the reasons it grew pretty quickly.
Somebody said, I know there's a God. I've seen him at work in my life. And just from the very beginning, things all fell into place. They couldn't have done it without the Lord's help. Providential. And I just think everything was done providentially.
There were 35 families. The first worship service was something slightly over 100. And then, as Suzanne has said, we moved from the first worship at Vickery to this office building at Park Central, just right here on LBJ. And during that time was when we employed George Bailey. We were so excited when he came over. Just the prospect of being able, first for them to come and talk to us was exciting, and the prospect of being able to employ him as the first preacher was just really significant. And it immediately gave us credibility and stature and visibility within the brotherhood that enabled us to grow rapidly, because people that came into Dallas, particularly those from Abilene Christian, where he had preached for years at the college church, gravitated to Prestoncrest and began to work with us, and that gave us a foundation from which to grow that has really benefited us through the years.
He loved people, genuinely loved people, and he loved their children, and all their children loved him. And if someone was sick, he was there. No matter what time of day he was needed, he was there. He was a real compassionate caregiver to the hurting and the ill. And besides that, a great communicator. So it's very difficult to have all that in one person. but he had it. He really had it.
After our first meeting, we realized that we were a lot of young families with children, so we had to put together a nursery and a cradle roll. And of course, that was rather difficult because we were meeting in an office building at that time. And so every Sunday morning we would get there, we would assemble 10 porta cribs and 10 jump chairs. And so from the very beginning, all of our babies had cradle roll. And of course, then we provided classes, obviously for the other children.
A lot of people don't know this, but Todd Miller used to come in the nursery quite often then, and he would get down with us and say, "Oh, look at the little baby." And I thought to myself, he'll make a great elder one of these days.
Well, there was no question that as a child, a lot of my Bible, the basic foundation I have in learning was through coming to Sunday school and to church and having some fabulous teachers. And a lot of the teachers I had still attend today or, and so fortunately I was able to feel like I got a very good basis for my understanding of what the Bible's all about. A lot of felt boards being used back then. So a lot of Joseph as many colors was as bright as could be on the felt board.
In 1972, we were thrilled to have Buster Harold Duncan preaching for us and for starting the youth program that our children participated in. And we felt like that he really helped the new congregation off to a great start before George and Elizabeth could come on a permanent basis. So we appreciated all of his work and his dedication in those early years.
I loved the all-church retreats. We all went on retreat for a day and a night and part of another day together. So it was something you couldn't even think about doing today.
I do remember Sunday nights after church, we always have a football game. We couldn't do it on Sunday mornings because we were dressed in our finest, but on Sunday evenings we'd play, right out when the last amen was said, we were out there playing football. And I have some great memories of my buddy Johnny Stallings, Coach Stallings' son, who was just a wonderful spirit.
I just think the Lord has been so good to all of us and has blessed in many, many ways our congregation. We have some of the finest people, friendly, lovely, lovable, and it's just a joy to be with them, just like one big family. And it really is just one big family.
Isn't it interesting to look at Scripture and see how often God did things in increments of 40? And so often those increments of 40 preceded a time when some new beginnings were going to take place. And so I was thinking, well, here's an increment of 40. I wonder what's going to happen next at the corner of Preston Road and Preston Place.